Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very excited because I have a great guest joining me at this time who I'm very excited to have on the podcast. He is the vocalist for Season to Risk. Please welcome Steve Tulipana.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Steve, it's awesome to have you on the podcast. Very excited to chat about everything Season to Risk has been doing lately. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Thanks for supporting this many long years project. So,
of course. And I kind of wanted to, obviously you guys have the upcoming tour coming up very soon, but I did want to discuss the record store release 1-800-Meltdown. So I'm kind of curious, like, how did this release come together?
So we were in the talks. We have this other upcoming Record Store Day release, the reissue of In a Perfect World. Our second record comes out on Black Friday through Record Store Day and Spartan Records out of Seattle. And that's kind of, we had been talking with Spartan about doing reissues of our Columbia records, remastered, that Dwayne, our guitar player, has done remasters, and just getting some updated vinyl versions of those records that came out primarily CD world, and era. And so we were talking to Spartan about that. In and of it, we had a tour, I think with the Cherubs, or we had something we were doing. I think we were going down to No Coast Festival. And we wanted to have something new to sell. So we collected a bunch of old tapes and different things that we had, and we did a cassette only release, like 100 copies of a cassette of all this unreleased stuff, and rare 7 inches and some tribute CDs we were on. And so we just decided to make a cassette version of it, real lo-fi, and we put it together and we sold those. And we had already started talking about these other vinyl reissues, but then we met Steve from Init Records out of Minnesota, and he was like, well, I'd like to be involved somehow. And he said, what if we did a version of that cassette? Can't do the covers, can't do the, they're just, so we kind of condensed it down. But in the meantime, we had started writing new material and recording, and we're like, well, let's put something brand new on there. And Steve did the deal with Record Store Day and put that whole like crazy weird. To me, it's such an experimental release. It covers a lot of history, but and some things that are really hard to find. And so yeah, that's how that came together. I think longer than it needed to be, that story, but there we go. Got the answer.
all good. I appreciate it. And I did just want to ask, so obviously from what I read, the song spanned from like 1995 to 2024. Which song is the oldest on 1-800-Meltdown?
I would have to have a copy of the record in front of me. I think there is a probably Undone might be one of the oldest ones. That was the song we did for the Strange Days film. And it originally was released on a very limited split 7-inch with a band called Glaze Baby. But I think that would be 95. There might be one thing that's older, if I can remember correctly. Since the cassette version was twice as long as the vinyl version, and we wanted to make room for that brand new song. So that's, but I would guess that it's probably in that In a Perfect World era was when that the oldest song that's on there. And there's a good chunk of stuff from the Men Are Monkeys era on there that never made its way to release. And then there's there's a song in 2007 that we did for a compilation. We hadn't been very active for a long time, and we just decided to do a get together for it was a benefit show for a friend in Kansas City. And while we were doing it, we just decided to write a song, and we released it on a fanzine comp, and no one really ever got to hear that one. So that was like 2007, I think. So it was kind of a newer thing as well. So.
No, it is so cool to have like just all these songs spanning different eras and decades for Season to Rest. So like I've listened to it. I just dig it because it just kind of just shows just like different eras of the band, and I really like that and appreciate it.
Right on, thanks.
But I did want you obviously talked about the Black Friday obviously re-release of vinyl. So if anyone's interested, like where can they pick this up and like all of that?
In a Perfect World was our second record released on Columbia Records in 1995, I think it was. This version has been remastered by Dwayne Trower, and some updated artwork on it. Derek Hess, the artist who did the cover, gave us some sketches and stuff from when he was working on it that we included on the inside. And it will be available. Record Store Day it's kind of interesting how it works. They put a list out, and then it is only available through your favorite independent record store. So it'll be available through just at Record Store Days, at record stores that are part of the collective, if you will, and for a bit, and then it'll be available on Spartan Records websites internationally as well, and then we'll have them on tour with us. We have a special band variant that's, I think, it looks pretty cool, that we'll have with us on the tour.
Oh, right on. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that, and that does lead us to this upcoming tour. You guys are touring with Sisters starting on November 28th.
Correct.
So obviously with touring and stuff, I'm curious for you. Obviously, we talked about a little bit about Season to Rest, the career spanning many decades. Like, do you ever like feel like nervous or excited before a show, or you just kind of more like just show up and rock? You're more used to it.
I think generally I'm used to it. I've always stayed active with other bands, and I'm still like currently. Almost all the guys in the band do other projects musically around the Midwest, and so I'm pretty constantly on a stage. Every now and then you get these weird things that happen, and a lot of times it's not because there's somebody special at the show, or it's just the most random thing that happens to you. And I don't know, maybe it was some bad tacos or something, but every now and then you get this weird like, whoa, what am I doing? I better do this well, but by and large, it's kind of part of who you are at this age, and you're, when you become a lifer, you kind of, that's what you do. Right. So. You
become more acclimated to it. Obviously the more you do it with, anything, music or any kind of, art or life or anything like that. But I was just curious, and it's funny how you kind of, at times, and I do this myself, even though I've been doing the podcast for 6 years, you're like, whoa, I got to make sure I'm doing stuff right. Or, maybe it's just overexcitement at sometimes, or you just want to do a good job, but it is funny how that does creep in your head sometimes.
Yeah, we're all human, right?
Oh, for sure. But so with this upcoming tour, so can we get hints of like what the set list is going to look like, what songs you guys are playing, anything like that?
We generally like to play something from just about everything record we've done. There's certain songs that we don't, because we don't all live in the same city. Rehearsals are always they're pretty rushed. So we're all rehearsing on our own, and we'll definitely be doing Echo Chamber, the new single from off 1-800, and there's another new song that we've all been working on our own, and if we have rehearsals coming up next week, and if we can pull this other new one together, I think we'll be playing that. But since In a Perfect World is the thing, we're going to be doing some songs from that we haven't done in a long time, probably 25 years. So a couple tracks on there that are fun to play that we just didn't really make their way into our regular sets over the years since that era. So some of that, there'll be some Monkeys. The self-titled doesn't get visited too often, but I think we've got one or two off of that we're also going to hit. So really, it really will change. I mean, we kind of have a set idea because our drummer David also creates. He's a video artist and editor, and he creates this video show that goes along with the song selections. It can be changed. It doesn't have to go to it, you know. But so we're starting out with it, trying to fit the order of that. But if things go sideways, we can always it can adjust, you know.
Oh, for sure. You need that little bit of flexibility and, you know, a dynamic to it that in case, you know, anything does happen, you guys can pivot or whatever. But definitely very cool. So I'm curious. So like you're talking about practicing, you know, like separately, you know, before you guys meet up. So like what's kind of your process?
I mean, the process really is just everybody puts on the headphones and plays along and just practice it. So it's as close to the recording as possible. The thing is with our second guitar player, Wade, who's been with us since The Shattering, he wasn't on those early records. So he's written new parts. He's added new layers and depth. We've incorporated a lot more synthesizers and some pretty crazy intense sounds that I think really add to that controlled chaos. I think that really makes it cohesive between all of the years instead of it being like, you know, sounding a little different. It sounds like a band from 2020. Well, it sounds like a band from 2035 playing these songs. That's the idea. Let's take it to the chaotic future.
Well, I can dig that. I like that. And just, you know, that just flow that, you know, everything kind of has a flow and uniqueness to it. And, you know, certain characteristics that you can carry through like the whole set. Since you're revisiting some of these songs that you have not played in, you know, 20, 25 years, what was like the most challenging song to revisit?
If we pull it off, Absolution is going to be one of the hardest ones. It's really difficult. Like we haven't played it all in a room together yet. So remains to be seen next week. The tour we did earlier this year on the East Coast was focusing more. It was a little more Shattering and Men Are Monkeys stuff. So hopefully everybody's ready for it. We'll see. It's a complex rhythm, and it does some really weird vocal things. So I'll know next week.
Well, are you going to be ready for it?
Oh yeah, totally.
Right on. But going along with that, I'm curious. So currently, you know, the set you guys are going to be practicing, what is your favorite song to perform live?
I think, I mean, really, it's because it's new, but Echo Chambers, I'm just very, really proud of that. I really love the Shattering record. Everything on that record is really fun to play live. But yeah, some of the heavier stuff is more challenging for me. You know, the stuff off of In a Perfect World is pretty intense vocally, and I'd like to temper it between a little, you know, so it's not all full on screeching the whole time. That's how I think we've got it flowed out. So that's the most difficult part. You know, those 90s, you know, 30 years ago when I was a young angry buck. It's more of I'm still an angry old cuss, but I have a bit of temperance in my delivery. But I feel that it services the song a little better. You know, when you're young, you're just kind of, throwing shit around like a crazy ape. And now I'm more like trying to deliver it on a silver platter.
Yeah, a little bit more finesse to it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
All right.
More eloquent than what I said.
That's why I'm a host. That's why I get to wrap things up in a nice bow sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, but I did kind of going along with that. You talked earlier about some new music you guys are working on. So I'm kind of curious. So like, has your like writing and recording kind of process evolved since like when you first started the band to nowadays?
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, being in other parts of the country, tapes, no one's sharing tapes. We're sending files around and collecting files, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing and throwing it at it. And then we get together for, a few days before and after we do tours and do shows. And Dwayne has an amazing recording studio here in Kansas City, and he's constantly busy recording bands, but he usually sets some time aside for us, and we go in and we just start putting it down, and then we chop it up and listen, and we layer it, and then someone on their comes in a different time and adds stuff. We just kind of, it's way more of like, it's definitely a longer process. Where in the past, we've always been a collaborative writing team. Not a lot of fully written songs. It always comes together as a group, but that's why it always takes a little bit longer. And now being a far apart, it's taking 25 years to, but I think by sometime in 26 we should have this a whole full record ready to go. It's coming together. I think there's about 7 that I think could be completed pretty quickly. 1 or 2 that are almost done. In my opinion, some of us are a little more. I'm a very expressive, like, yeah, let's let it be what it is, and some guys are like, no, well, now think about it, So that's the collaboration, and it's cool. We all get along, and after so many years, it's amazing that we're all very like brothers. So it's awesome.
Oh, for sure. You have to have that, camaraderie with the band and stuff. And like, I'm a newer kind of fan to Season the Wrist, but like, I dig what you guys are doing because it's unique. It's kind of out there. And I like that because, it doesn't just sound like, like every other band. You guys are doing some very different things.
Yeah, that's what we've always tried to do outside of any expectations. It's always kind of, what can we come up with that satisfies each of us? Because we all, we have a vision, but we all have we have overlapping tastes, but there's a lot of things that each of us bring to the table that are different from the other person. So,
oh, for sure, it does. It is reflected in the music as well. But I did want to ask, so like for you and the band as a whole as well, like do you guys approach like performing live differently than like recording music in a studio?
No, we always try to figure out. There's not too much that ends up in the studio that we don't figure out how to make happen live on the stage. Even if it's sometimes we have these like experimental breakdowns or like kind of electronic-y, I don't know, segues and spaces, and I think. We've always done that live, and sometimes there's a lot of stuff that we did live that didn't make it into the recordings, and that's kind of some of that is what ended up on the way to 1-800. And so we in the last decade, we don't play constantly. We just get together and do a week here or special shows, and we've really added that stuff into the live performance to make it more interesting. So
I gotcha. So with kind of going along with that, so like when you're like recording in the music recording the music in the studio, do you have like the live show in mind of like, hey, this is how we're going to recreate this live, or we're going to, you know, include this with the live show?
No, I don't think we really discuss that or think about it. I think our ethos, we all grew up in the like kind of hardcore underground DIY scene. You know, we used to throw shows ourselves, and you just kind of scrap PAs together and do whatever you can. So I think the attitude is way more of the just, yeah, this is it. It has imperfections, and it's real. You know, I think that's the ethos behind it, is that it is an expression of something that's very real. There's nothing, you know, nothing that can't be recreated, and nothing that can't be, we're not trying to smooth any edges, you know. It is what it is. It's comes from that kind of that punk rock attitude of, you can, you know, that's, even though it's not like, a lot of people go, well, that's not punk rock. But I mean, when I was discovering, you know, hardcore and punk rock music as a teenager, that to me was that attitude that, you know, it's just, you can do it yourself, do it however you feel, and express it for real. That's you know, punk. Is it the Minutemen? I don't know if it's Mike Watt or D Boon. I think D Boon said punk rock is what, I'm not going to remember the quote. Punk rock is what you make it, or something like that. I'd have to look it up, but I always liked that the Minutemen and their attitude with that, where it's not all about spiky mohawks and leather jackets. It's about freedom of expression and art, you know, and really trying to push boundaries and limits.
Oh, no, for sure. And that, I definitely know what you're saying with that. You know, punk rock, yes, it is a music genre, but it's also the attitude of it as well. And I think you said it very well, of like, if you can do it yourself, because that's just what punk rock was. I mean, they're releasing, you know, albums, you know, no label, and they're just releasing albums, doing everything themselves. And I think that definitely inspired a lot of people to have that mindset for, you know, certain aspects, even outside of music as well.
Yeah.
But now I did want to transition just to a few other topics before we start to close out this interview. So you did mention the movie Strange Days, which you guys performed club scene, you know, playing a song as mentioned on there as well. So like, from what I read, you guys like you lived in a trailer on the set for 2 weeks. So like, how was that experience?
We didn't actually live in the trailer. They got us. They actually treated us very well. We had hotel rooms, but every day you reported to set, and they had a little trailer for us. Wasn't anything fancy, but you did a lot of sitting around in this thing, and the experience was very. It was kind of ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, it was a massive set. There were 700 extras. A lot of them were just LA punk rock types. Then we met some really interesting people, and you know, a lot of people just hanging out, waiting for a director to say, everybody go here and do this, or okay, we want you guys on set now. We're going to have you're going to be behind Juliet over here, and you're just hanging out, and you know, here's fake cigarettes, and you know, like fake, you know, whatever. They had like, you know, this props, but they're like, it was bizarre, you know, and like, you know, very little of the stuff that you do makes it to screen time. And so it was really fascinating for me. I always was interested in film, and I went to art school and studied, I did video art, and I was always thought maybe I would end up somehow working in TV and film production or something, or doing videos. And then we got signed, and I just did live music and became so connected to promoting shows and doing that stuff here in town, and kind of fell away from that. But being someone who loved it, it was really fascinating to get to watch the process, especially on something huge like that, and see Catherine Bigelow, you know, who's now like, you know, super successful Oscar-winning, director making this crazy film. They gave us pretty free access to walk about. We were never told we couldn't go anywhere. They treated us like talent, and it was super fun. That's all I can say. It was wild.
So I'm curious. So how'd you get you guys get contacted, to be part of this movie?
We were working on In a Perfect World in New York, and we were living at the studio with Martin Bisi there, but we were sending the rough mixes back and forth to LA. Back then you weren't digitally sending it. You were sending a courier cassette tapes to, overnighted, and then they would go to some A&R person or somebody to listen to. And it was all, we didn't get a lot of feedback, to be honest, but they were always, wanting the stuff, and we'd send it out there. And then the Juliette Lewis was at the studios there in Santa Monica recording those PJ Harvey songs that are in the film. And the music director was there chatting up this woman that worked in the studio, who happened to be also a friend of ours that we'd met. I think the drummer was dating her at the time. And he was just talking about how he's looking for this one particular scene. He wants this very chaotic, apocalyptic sounding band. And she's like, I just got the rough mixes of the perfect band for you. And he gave it to her, and it was within like a week. We had confidential agreements and shipped out to New York, and we had to sign it. They wanted us to create a new song, a song that wasn't going to be on the record, something different. So we flew the drummer who'd gone back to Kansas City back, spent 2 days writing and recording this song, and then immediately flew to LA, got picked up and driven straight to set. They were already shooting, and we went straight on to set. Within 2 hours, we were shooting that scene, the first part of that scene. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And then we spent 2 weeks hanging out there, just doing it over and over again, or just being around for pickup shots and stuff. And it was fascinating.
Wow, that is, obviously very fast, kind of going from, nothing happening to doing all of that. That's incredible. And obviously it's an amazing experience for you guys as well.
Oh yeah, it was. Just should add, I just got my SAG-AFTRA royalty check for the quarter, $5. 30 years later. So
nice.
$5 a quarter.
Don't spend it all in one place.
I won't. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it really, literally it's sitting on the table in there.
Is it from that movie?
It's from that movie, yeah.
Nice. Well,
it comes from Disney now, of all places, which is weird.
Oh, so you got a check from Disney for it?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, at least you're $5 richer. But I did want to ask, as we're talking about with your career and the albums and the decades of Season to Risk. So I'm curious for you, what is the album or the song that you are most proud of?
It's a difficult question, because I think of it all as a whole, and a continuing whole, like a body of work as a collective group, and that includes all the people there's a lot of people that have involved with creation in this band that don't no longer play with us, but so I just look at it all. But for me, I really loved how The Shattering came together, that record we did with Owned and Operated, and working with Bill Stevenson. I think it really came together cohesively. I really enjoyed working with Billy Smith on that, on getting the vocals right and doing that stuff. Billy was the bass player on that record and played with us for years. He's not in the band now, but brilliant guy that I still do other projects with. But so I don't know. I really think that record combines some personal stuff and the kind of quasi-narrative things that we do, where I feel like that are in the lyrics. So I think I would have to say that record as a whole is my favorite. But I also love, I can't deny that first single, Mine Eyes, is something that's really, really fun to play and really hits home. And it doesn't matter. We take years off from playing it, and then we bring it back and people still love it. So it's always fun to see people react to that, so.
Oh, for sure. I know that was a challenging question, but I appreciate it. And obviously, you guys have had some incredible music throughout your whole career. So I know it's a bit of a challenging question, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for even asking.
Of course. All right, so now as we're closing out this interview, so what are the plans for Season to Risk as we close out 2025 and head into 2026?
So we're gonna do this run. We have some stuff in the spring that we're working on, probably some more Midwest stuff. And we want really the main goal for next year. The self-titled should come out. The remaster of that should come out on a vinyl remaster. Should come out sometime in 26 early. And then we're hoping by the end to have that a full length of all new material by the end of it. So 26 should be pretty big. And then the other main goal for the band is to go to Europe. We never were able to play shows over there. We had a couple opportunities, and tragic things happened. I mean, way back, and that caused a couple of the tours not to happen. So it never came to fruition. So that's on the checklist of we're all kind of getting up there, and so we just want to. Our goal is to have as much fun with it and be able to spend time with each other. As brothers in music, and we hope we feel really privileged that we get to do this at all, and people want to talk to us about it and share the history. That's the crazy thing, that not a lot of bands that on this kind of underground level, even though we had some major label stuff, but we've always thought of ourselves and stayed pretty underground and independent and DIY minded. So it's pretty wild to be doing this after 30 years, or 30 when we started in 89. So 35 years. So it's crazy.
Oh, it definitely is, but testament to what you guys are doing. You guys are still around, still making incredible music, and I do hope you guys get to go to Europe. That would be obviously incredible for the band as well. Yeah,
we'll see. Talking to people, just keep doing the fishing.
Okay, well, I hope the efforts pay off for that.
Yeah, thank you.
But I will leave some links for Season to Risk in the description of this podcast. Please check out and support them. Make sure to see them on their upcoming tour starting November 28th. If you're in the area of any of those shows, make sure to see them live. But Steve, thank you so much for your time. It was incredible to chat with you.
Matthew, thank you. Have a great day.
You're very welcome. For Steve from Season to Risk, I'm your host, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.
Cheers.